to everyone. This is Viewpoint on noyantapantv, and I am Benyamin Poghosyan, Senior Research Fellow at Armenia. Today we will discuss the perspectives of Armenia-EU relations. In recent years, and especially in recent months, there are a lot of discussions going on about the current state and especially the future of Armenia-EU relations. The discussions about new partnership agenda are the cornerstone of these talks, and there are different opinions where Armenia and EU should go together, or what is the final destination of this path. First of all, very few words about how relations started to develop. When EU was formed in 1993, Armenia was still in the midst of the first Nagorno-Karabakh war, and in the 1990s there was not much going on between Armenia and European Union. Then, in 2003 and then 2004, when European Union launched its neighborhood policy, South Caucasus became part of neighborhood policy, and this brought EU and South Caucasus, including EU and Armenia, closer to each other. The cornerstone was 2009, when the EU, European Union, launched Eastern Partnership Initiative, which covered South Caucasus, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, as well as Moldova, Ukraine and Belarus. Within Eastern Partnership, Armenia started its negotiation to sign association agreement with the European Union. However, Armenia didn't do that, and in 2013 stated that instead it would like to join the Eurasian Economic Union. There was some sort of gap between relations, 1-2 years. However, after 2015, negotiations resumed, and in November 2017, Armenia signed comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement with the European Union. A document which fixed around 16 areas of reforms where European Union was ready to support Armenia to push forward these reforms. Immediately after the Velvet Revolution of 2018, there were discussions that maybe SEPA is not enough. Then 2020, COVID, 2020 war, and for a while being, relation with the European Union was not at the top agenda of Armenia. However, since late 2021 and especially in 2022, European Union became the center stage for Armenia-Azerbaijan negotiations, and I am referring here to a Brussels format. The first meeting took place in December 2021, but the real accelerations happened in 2022. There was a 3 meetings, April, May, August 2022. And it was leaders meeting facilitated by the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, but also the meetings between Hikmet Hacıyev, Foreign Policy Advisor, Assistant to President Aliyev, and Armen Grigoryan, Secretary of Armenia Security Council, facilitated by the EU Special Representative in the South Caucasus, Toivo Klar. So in 2022, when the European Union was the #1 mediator or facilitator of Armenia-Azerbaijan talks, relations started to move forward. Then we had the September 2022 incursion of Azerbaijani forces into Armenia proper, near Jermuk, and then Armenia applied to deploy European Union civilian mission along Armenia-Azerbaijan border. First, we had 2-month mission in 2022, and then in February 2023, the 2-year mission was deployed along Armenia-Azerbaijan border, and most probably the mission term will be extended for another 2 years, which means that they will stay in Armenia until February 2027. Meanwhile, immediately after the September 2023 military takeover of Nagorno-Karabakh by Azerbaijan, the European Union came up with the idea to support Armenia more. There was meetings in October in Granada between Armenian leadership and the President of the European Commission, and also between Nicole Pashinyan, Prime Minister, and Charles Michel, and all this culminated in the idea of to launch new partnership agenda, which was declared in February 2024. Before, there was a mission sent to Armenia, European Union mission, to allow European Union better understand Armenia's needs. And there is a perception now that somewhere in summer 2024, Armenia and the European Union will launch the new partnership agenda, which will have several pillars, including security one, European Peace Facility, albeit definitely is not going to have any significant impact on balance of power between Armenia and Azerbaijan, because first, we are not speaking about tens and hundreds of millions of euros of support from European Peace Facility. Second, this support will be only non-lethal. In any case, this new partnership agenda is a significant one, and it definitely will support Armenia to move forward. However, it's also important don't have this too much high expectations, because then we may face a frustration. As a similar situation which now we see in Armenia-Russia relations when Armenians are not happy with Russia, Russians are not happy with Armenians. So to avoid something similar between Armenia and the European Union, it's very important to clearly understand what may happen and what may not happen between Armenia and EU after the signature or launch of this new partnership agenda. First of all, the new partnership agenda is not replacing SEPA. SEPA still will be there, and SEPA will remain to be a cornerstone and the pillar of Armenia-EU relations for years to come. So this is very important, that the new partnership agenda does not mean association agreement, does not mean replacing SEPA with association agreement. Agreements which were signed by Georgia, Ukraine and Moldova in 2014 and which allows them, along with of course geopolitical changes due to the war in Ukraine, to come closer to the European Union and at the end of the day became candidate countries to enter the European Union. I'm speaking about Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova. They all signed association agreements. Armenia did not sign association agreement, and this new partnership agenda is not an association agreement and is not going to replace SEPA, which was signed, as I mentioned, in November 2017. This means that Armenia is still far away from seriously thinking about getting membership or becoming candidate of membership for the European Union for different reasons. As I mentioned, first, there is an association agreement, and let's not forget that it took 8 years for Georgia, Ukraine and Moldova to become the candidates for entering the European Union. For Georgia, it was even 9 years. Association agreement was signed in 2014, and Georgia get its status in December 2023. But Armenia even has no association agreement, and it's very complicated to argue that, for example, Armenia may avoid this step and simply may jump from SEPA directly to become a candidate for the European Union. Second, we should understand that South Caucasus itself is, unfortunately for us and unfortunately for all countries here, is more and more becoming like entangled into the geopolitical rivalry when we have the United States, Russia, Iran, Israel, European Union, Turkey, Iran and other countries with competing, sometimes coinciding, but also contradicting interests. In current circumstances, and as far as Armenia legally still is a close ally of Russia and was ally of Russia since the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russian military base, Russian border troops, any direct step by Armenia to say, okay, I'm moving away from Russia and coming closer to the West, again, in the situation when there is a war between Russia and the West, may create significant complications, and not only with the relation with Russia, but also our relations between Armenia and Iran. So this is another factor which should be taken account when we are speaking about potential Armenia-EU close partnership up to Armenia becoming a candidate for entering the European Union. So as of now, and also we have to wait for June 2024 election results of the European Parliament, no one can argue that the next cycle of the EU 2024-2029 will be the same as it was 2019-2024. So even from the European Union perspective, many members of the European Union will have more or less skepticism regarding pushing forward and delivering Armenia candidate status. So, not to create like too much expectations, to manage expectations, and this also applies to the visa-free regime, because many in Armenia believe that, okay, new partnership agenda automatically means visa-free regime. No, it does not mean visa-free regime. Armenia even not in a position to start the negotiations, and in the last 6 or 7 years, we are negotiating to start negotiations. Okay, maybe in 2024 the negotiations finally will be launched, but these are open-end negotiations, and negotiations may take years and years and end by nothing. So, to manage expectations, not to create too much hype, and then not to trigger frustration, Armenia and EU should focus, instead of a lot of discussions and hype about Armenia leaving Russia, making pivot from Russia to the West, becoming EU candidate status, or becoming a new stronghold, the West in South Caucasus against Russia, or etc. Armenia, the European Union, should focus on concrete things, and concrete things are very clear. This is SEPA. SEPA envisages a lot of reforms. SEPA was signed in 2017, entered into force fully in March 2021. So 3 years we have SEPA, and definitely a lot of reforms still has not been realized. So the core attention of the Armenia and the European Union should be focused on using this momentum, using new partnership agenda, try to finalize the SEPA reforms in next several years. Even I will say in next 5 years, until 2029, in the next this cycle of the European Union. So if Armenia will be able to more or less completely finish the reforms on the SEPA by 2029-2030, And if Armenia will be able to reach visa liberalization with the European Union somewhere in 2029-2030, I think this is the maximum which can be done, and this is a target which should be fixed both by Armenia and the European Union. Again, otherwise, we will have hype, we will have unrealistic expectations, and then we will have frustration, which definitely will not give any benefit neither the EU nor Armenia. This is all for today, and we will meet soon.